The fall that never came. The Vetrax High Conquest fleet arrived in Earth orbit with the precision of a machine. 30 dreadnoughts, 60 assault carriers, and enough firepower to glass continents in hours. Fleet Admiral Sarnak stood on the bridge of his flagship, crushing silence, staring down at the swirling blue world beneath them. Primitive, he muttered, tail flicking in mild disgust. Divided. Underdefended. This will be quick. Earth, designated Target 149, was a loaded death world by Vetrax standards. Its nations bickered constantly. Its militaries were scattered. Intelligence reports labeled the humans aggressive but uncoordinated. A swift strike, targeting military command hubs and infrastructure, would paralyze them. A week at most, then pacification. Orders were given. Drop pods streaked across the atmosphere like falling stars. It didn't go as planned. The first sign something was wrong came within 10 minutes of touchdown. Entire platoons went dark. Recon feeds went static. Vetrax infantry landing outside a North American city encountered what they expected to be scattered militia. Instead, they were met with sniper fire, homemade explosives, and javelin missiles launched from civilian rooftops. In Johannesburg, a squad was incinerated by a fuel truck detonated remotely. In Osaka, locals used hacked drones to drop corrosive compounds onto drop pod holes. The Vetrax expected screaming civilians. What they got was organized chaos, fierce, improvised, relentless. Admiral Sarnak's claw tapped faster and faster against his command console. How are they coordinating? They shouldn't be. Sir, interrupted his comms officer, they've adapted. Civilian networks have rerouted around our jammers. Multiple encrypted channels detected. They're using social media to call strikes. Sarnak blinked. They are what? Meanwhile, on the ground, Captain Elena Ramirez, U.S. National Guard, barked orders from a makeshift command post in a high school basement. She'd rallied soldiers, volunteers, ex-Marines, even local hunters. No one waited for official government orders. They took what they had, trucks, rifles, road flares, and fought. They are better armed, better armored, she said, crouched over a tablet showing satellite feeds. But they don't know terrain. They don't know humans. She pointed to a wooded ridgeline above a Vetrax patrol route. We hit them there. Ambush, draw them in, drop the rocks. Then we burn their transport. Within hours, a four-pod convoy was obliterated. Back on the crushing silence, Sarnak watched the footage, his warriors scrambling, bleeding, dying in what should have been an easy conquest. He saw the fire in the humans' eyes. Not fear, not panic, rage. This is not a pacification, he said quietly. This is a war. The Vetrax had conquered worlds, but they'd never tried to conquer Earth. And Earth, it had no interest in surrender. Death World defiance. The Colorado Rockies weren't a battlefield, not officially, but to the Vetrax squads trying to patrol the steep terrain, it may as well have been the gates of hell. Snow fell hard and fast, blanketing everything in white. Visibility dropped to 30 meters. Sensors glitched from magnetic interference. And Weiss, something was hunting them. Commander TVAC, multiple motion signatures, all directions. Triangulating now. Wait, they are gone. Then the screaming started. From behind rocks, trees, and snowbanks, human fighters emerged with terrifying speed. Camo paint, thermal cloaks, crossbows. Some wielded antique weapons that didn't show up on scans. Others used stolen Vetrax rifles they barely understood but fired with deadly instinct. Explosives planted along the path erupted. The mountain trail vanished in flame and rock, swallowing 2 Vetrax walkers. The rest scattered. Wrong move. Captain Elena Ramirez radioed from a hidden ridge above the chaos. Trigger point 4 is live. Ground team, move now. Her voice was calm. Cold. Calculated. Below, the remaining Vetrax troops fell into a canyon pass. On cue, militia teams opened fire from 3 sides, using everything from precision rifles to homemade thermite grenades. Within minutes, the Vetrax unit was wiped out. Clear, Ramirez confirmed. She didn't celebrate. She didn't smile. She simply reloaded, then moved to the next ridge. On board the crushing Silence, Admiral Sarnak stood in front of a holographic map riddled with red failure indicators. He bared his fangs. "These aren't trained soldiers," he snapped. "Why are they winning?" The science officer hesitated. "Sir, Earth is a Class 5 adaptive biosphere. The humans evolved to survive predators, weather extremes, famine. Even in peacetime, they trained for hypothetical war. And now, they're unified." Sarnak hissed. "Against us." The officer nodded grimly. "Yes, Admiral. Against you." Worse still, the Vetrax forces were falling ill. Their bioweapons-resistant armor didn't account for Earth's microbial diversity. Entire platoons were grounded by respiratory infections, skin rot, and fevers induced by what humans casually called the flu. One squad was lost after ants chewed through insulation on a fusion core. Another suffocated when moss clogged air filters. The planet itself seemed to fight. Back in the Appalachians, a grandmother named Rosa used an old ham radio to coordinate supply drops and warn militias of alien patrols. Her grandson used 3D printers to manufacture spare rifle parts and drone casings. Across the Pacific, Japanese civilians turned abandoned subway tunnels into command centers. In Brazil, jungle tribes led Vetrax pursuers into quicksand. The Vetrax weren't prepared for a world where everyone fought. Ramirez received a message that night from a captured enemy comms relay. It was from a Vetrax soldier to their superior. "They don't fear us. They bleed us. Every tree, every storm, every shadow is theirs. Earth is not a target. Earth is a trap." She read it twice, then smiled, not in joy, but with grim satisfaction. "Let them come," she said. "We're just getting started." Counter-Strike. The first Vetrax warship to fall wasn't shot down. It was hacked. Somewhere beneath the ruins of Berlin, a coalition of coders, AI specialists, and bored teenage hackers calling themselves GhostNet broke into the Vetrax fleet's command relay. It started small, false movement signals, garbled terrain data, then escalated, targeting overrides, atmospheric thruster misfires, even oxygen scrubber malfunctions. By the time the Vetrax traced the breach, it was too late. A cruiser drifted off course, lost stabilization, and slammed into the Atlantic at Mach 2. Earth had drawn blood. Real blood. Captain Ramirez crouched over a holographic table inside an underground command node in Colorado Springs. The flickering display showed the newest objective, a Vetrax terraforming command center hidden in the Arizona desert. It controlled drone swarms and troop reinforcement patterns across North America. She stabbed her finger at the structure. "We take this out. We cripple their entire Western ops." Her strike team nodded. No one hesitated. They moved at dawn, using stolen Vetrax armor painted with graffiti and slogans like "Welcome to Earth" and "Eat Lead, Lizard." Ramirez's unit infiltrated the base perimeter undetected. A power outage, courtesy of a GhostNet virus, blinded the security grid for 90 seconds. It was enough. They surged in with EMP grenades and shotgun drones, clearing hallways in brutal close-quarters combat. Ramirez herself placed a shaped charge on the central power core, then keyed the detonation countdown. "Let's send the bastards a message." The explosion was visible from space. News of the strike spread like wildfire, not just on Earth, but off-world. Across the Vetrax Empire, oppressed species intercepted Earth's pirated broadcasts. Humans in scavenged gear, laughing, bleeding, winning. And the phrase began to ripple through hidden channels and whispered rebellions. "If Earth can fight, so can we." The Vetrax hierarchy panicked. Fleet Admiral Sarnak stood silent on the bridge of the crushing Silence, watching live reports of a failed orbital drop in Mexico, a destroyed skimmer column in Poland, and, most damning, a mutiny aboard one of his own ships. Half the crew had been inspired by Earth's defiance. The other half had simply had enough of dying. "This is no longer a conquest," his second-in-command said quietly. "It's a quagmire." Sarnak hissed. "It's a disaster." In a forest outside Munich, a teenage girl repaired a disabled alien railgun with duct tape, copper wiring, and instructions translated by her phone. In Nairobi, A squad of farmers used solar panels and scrap metal to power an anti-air cannon. In orbit, Vetrax dreadnoughts reversed course. Ramirez watched them flee on satellite feed. Her team, bruised and filthy, gathered around in stunned silence. "Is that retreat?" someone asked. "No," Ramirez said, voice low. "That's fair." She turned to her squad, eyes blazing. "They thought Earth would fall. Now we chase them out of our sky." The day the sky cleared, the last Vetrax warship exploded in Earth's orbit at 0400 UTC. A fireball of alien metal and plasma lit up the pre-dawn sky, streaking over the Atlantic like a second sun. Every corner of the globe saw it. Every survivor watched. In bunkers, war rooms, ruined cities, and forests. They knew. The invasion was over. But humanity was far from finished. Admiral Sarnag's escape pod slammed into the sands of the Sahara, skidding like a wounded animal. He clawed his way out, coughing from Earth's dusty air, his once imperial armor dented and scorched. He'd lost his fleet, his command, his empire's pride, and now he was alone. Footsteps approached, boots, heavy, deliberate. Captain Elena Ramirez stood with her rifle slung over one shoulder, flanked by human scouts in patched-up gear and stolen alien helmets. She didn't raise her weapon. She didn't need to. "You came to conquer a death world," she said flatly, but forgot to ask who was already surviving it. Sarnak glared up at her. "You savages." Ramirez stepped forward and crouched beside him. "No," she said. "We're human. We build. We break. We adapt. And when someone threatens our home, we burn them down." She stood. "Your war's over." Across the globe, humanity stepped into the aftermath. Satellites reconnected. Governments, shattered and scattered, reformed through encrypted networks and field comms. The UN re-emerged, backed by military coalitions once bitter enemies. Chinese and American engineers worked side by side, reverse engineering alien tech for Earth's first orbital defense grid. In Moscow, a Ukrainian medic and a Russian soldier saved a wounded Vetrax defector who'd helped disable their own mothership. No one asked questions. The war had redefined enemies. The world had changed. In Nairobi, kids laughed as they climbed over a gutted Vetrax walker-turned-jungle gym. In Paris, artists painted murals of humans standing tall against giant silhouettes in space. In Tokyo, scientists tested fusion cells ripped from crashed cruisers. Earth, battered and bleeding, was healing. Ramirez stood before a global feed, broadcast across all surviving networks. To every species watching, we are not prey. We are not yours to conquer. We are Earthborn, and if you ever come again. She leaned closer. "Bring more ships." The feed ended. Weeks later, in a small farm town in Nebraska, a boy planted vegetables beside a crater where alien fire had once rained down. His father watched the stars, a hand on the rifle still slung across his back. They didn't know if the Vetrax would return. They didn't care, because now, the galaxy knew. Earth was supposed to fall. Instead, the invasion did. Let me know if you'd like the whole story formatted for print, ebook, or web publishing, or if you want a bonus epilogue.